Hi everyone, my name is Tyler. I'm also known as Full Metal Jace, and I am here to bring you guys an in-depth overview of my most recent Jace guide that I just recently did. It's basically going to go over the runes, the build paths, the masteries, the summoner spells, my laning phase, matchups, and everything in between that you guys have read from the guide already, but I will be doing my best to explain it in depth with you guys. And let's start off with the runes, basically. The runes are a pretty straightforward rune set. It's always going to be your half AD, half lethality reds. You're going to have 1% crit, as you guys can see here. And the reason why I say the 1% crit is because, believe it or not, you'll be surprised just how often it actually crits and just how often it will, win you the lane or win you the trade. And you'd be surprised. It really is pretty often. I run half armor and half AD seals for the extra harass because Jace gets a natural tank bonus from switching the hammer form already as it is, so you basically can make up that difference with extra AD. As far as the starting items go, they're always pretty straightforward starting items. I always try to go for a longsword refillable pot on my first buy, unless I'm against a lane that I feel like I wouldn't be able to properly deal with, and in which case I would go Doran Shield or maybe a Corrupting Pot start just to be able to have that early game. But 90% of my games I always go Longsword Refillable Pot unless it's a Doran's, which is why I have it as my secondary as a Doran's Health Pot. I always run Ignite. It's just my personal choice. People can use Teleport. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I prefer Ignite just for that lane dominance and guaranteed, kill pressure at any given moment when you need it. There are two builds for Jace, and I get a lot about this, and people are like, well, which build do I go and what time? And I'm here to tell you that it really doesn't matter which build you go unless you're playing by a certain time frame. The Trinity Force build that I have went for this guide and I show you guys in most of my games that I go for is because I can get Trinity Force as a guaranteed item pre 20 minutes. And that is why I go Trinity Force. However, if you're not in a good enough spot and you're not comfortable with building Trinity Force as the second item, you can go the pretty standard Black Cleaver Ghost Blade item build path, which is pretty, it's pretty standard. It's safe. You're not gonna, deviate too far from it because these are his two core items. As far as summoner spells go, I already went over that. It's pretty straightforward. Masteries, this is another big question people ask me a lot. I honestly cannot tell you, I can't argue with how good Storm Raider Surge is on Jace right now. It is honestly just so good to use because the way you got to look at it, and I'm going to get to it later on in my guide, is that extra utility you get from the movement speed proc of Storm Raider Surge gives you so much more than the 30-second cooldown of Thunderlords, which, by the way, Storm Raider Surge, 10 seconds. Thunderlords, 30 seconds. It's literally 20 seconds sooner of an internal cooldown for Storm Raider Surge, and it can be procced every 10 seconds, which is roughly around the cooldown of Jace's cooldowns anyways. And like I said, in stages of the game, that extra Thunderlords damage is, yeah, it might get you the kill, but if you overkill them by 500 or by 300 health anyways, what's 80 extra damage going to do as opposed to being able to get away from either a gank or engage on them more proper? Which, if you guys have watched my previous videos, you will understand that. Let's get down to my build path. Another big question. I always max E second. It's just my thing that I've done because it enables you to have such good trades quickly, and on top of that, your E is pretty much a guaranteed Storm Raiders procer because after 2 points into it or even a decent enough combo with early game, you can pretty much proc Storm Raider Surge guaranteed almost on every engage you do with Jay. So it adds to his utility just that much more by having it. Excuse me. And then down here we have my introduction, which is pretty much straightforward, just saying, hi, I'm Full Metal Jace. I'm going to be going over this guide today with you, but like I said, I'm going over this with you now. It just gives you a little brief overview of why I made so many accounts. And this right here, which is something that we should go through and look real quick, is the guide or the graph that I did on one of my accounts to teach people how to climb with Jace. And as you can see, I think I made my point pretty clear with what you're able to do if you do it properly. Anyways, back to the guide though. Like I said, here's just an overview of my runes, which I had went over earlier. Another overview of my masteries, summoner spells, build, etc., etc. Here's where I go into detail about which build path you could go at what point in the game, granted if you make it early enough. And then I go over my game stages, which are also pretty straightforward depending on what lane you're going against. If you're mid lane, you always want to keep the lane in your favor. If you're top lane, vice versa, you always want to keep the lane in your favor, but you never want to make it too far to where you don't benefit from overextending, because last thing you need is get ganked by a jungler, get put behind, and then it only gets worse from there. Which is why in this little brief early game awareness overview, I mentioned that you should always ward River Bush between 2:45 and 3 minutes and 30 seconds, because that's generally the ideal clear time for most junglers that start blue buff side, and they do blue buff, wolves, red, gank, or they'll do a full clear and then gank. It depends on what they do, what jungler you're going against. But that's pretty straightforward. If there's any questions, you guys, feel free to drop by my stream, put a message down below in this video. I'm going to be doing these videos here on hopefully a daily basis, give or take. I will do my best, and I mean this, to do at least 2 to 4 videos a week, depending on how much footage and how much, content I'm able to put out there. Thank you again, guys, for watching this brief overview of my guide. I'm going to post this to my YouTube channel, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And I will see you guys on the next video. Full Metal Jace out.